seeing all the young faces of the ROTC cadets, I will tell you this, don't ever, ever forget this, that at the heart of military leadership, there is a physicality. And General Anderson is the person that taught generations of West Point leaders the physicality necessary to be effective combat leaders. That served me well in the war that I fought in, and it served many generations of West Pointers well in all the wars that they have fought or are fighting in. And so, with no further ado, the man that led me through countless repetitions of the side bender and the turn and reach, I'd like to introduce General Jim Anderson.
Is to provide the nation with leaders of character to leaders of character, that came about, we developed that at West Point. We got a new superintendent. He happened to have been a classmate of mine when we were cadets at West Point. He came up there as a superintendent. One day he said to me, he said, Jim, he said, what's the purpose of West Point? And of course, this was in the mid-1980s, and at that time, we weren't at war in any place, and we had people in Congress who were saying, why do we need these service academies? You know, it's very expensive to put people through these service academies. Why do we need them? And so what he was trying to do was answer that question. This is the purpose. And so he came to the academic board meeting one day, and he said, what's the purpose of West Point? And I remember this is the second time he'd asked that question. And so he said, I want you all to go back and write it, just write down, what is the purpose of this institute? Why do we need West Point? And we did that. And after about 6 or 8 months of studying all of the things that we said in there, we finally came up with that statement right there, a very short, succinct statement that says, to provide the nation with leaders of character